I build an altar in the field, so I'll remember. Back to this time when it's so real that I am loved and not alone. And if I pass by here again, I'll be able to see my life was scattered like these stones till the Lord began to gather me. I built an altar in the field, so I'll remember.
To understand KindlingsFest, you have to understand Kindlings. A number of years ago, a bunch of us were concerned about the kind of impoverishment of American life and culture, and the lack of holistic, intellectual, spiritual, creative integration that we saw in so many expressions of Christian faith. And we were concerned about what that was doing to a next generation whose entire view of what it meant to be Christian was influenced by this kind of lack of holistic understanding of what it means to be fully human, and how being fully human is an essential way of understanding what it means to be a follower of Jesus.
What makes it really quite unique is the quality of it. There's a quality of speakers, there's a quality of artistry, there's a quality though of fellowship, sharing and friendship that happens here.
You don't normally get all these people together in one place, focused on the art making process, the participation in the event, whether it's a theatrical or poetic or musical or artistic event. And then I think the bond of love that flows from that feast, that Eucharistic feast of self-giving.
I like the fact that it's local and relationally based. It's not a grand conference full of distinguished academic speakers and an endless array of meetings and seminars. The schedule is nice and light, so you've got plenty of time to get to know your fellow conferees and build up relationships.
One of the things about the Kindlings is it is a relational movement. It's about the relationships that we have with people. It's not a programmatic movement.
First there is the rumor that you're heading home from school. Somebody thought they heard somebody say, too soon to get excited, disappointment is so cruel, but there just might be some snow on the way. You ready? Snow day! Snow day! The topic of your prayer as you are there down on your knees. Snow day! Snow day! Yeah, it sure would make me glad if this one and only dream could come true. It's not such a big request. It'd help me do my best. With another day of rest, I'm begging you.
I like to say it's 5 dimensions, and the first dimension is the creativity, that it draws creative people, and the second dimension is the spirituality, which when you're creative and spiritual, that's amazing. Then it's personality. These personalities of the people that attend are just huge and bigger than life and encompass the room, and then we're all together and it's even more amazing.
It's just so encouraging to come here and just be surrounded by people who are just as passionate as you are about God and also about the creative arts and trying to make a difference in this world.
Just being here with other creatives, even if we're not doing creative stuff or even if we're not working, just to be able to chat about our crafts.
We feel blessed that whatever else is happening at these Kindlings events, we've only done 2 of them, but God has seen fit in ways we can't plan to bring a vulnerability and an openness and an expansiveness. And that's the kind of comments that I've been getting from you, and it's very rewarding.
I've thoroughly enjoyed KindlingsFest. It's been a heck of a lot of fun for the 2 years I've been there. A lot of it is the interaction with friends that I've met before and make some friends, and kind of the conversations that happen in the margins of the conference. So those, I think, have been even more important than the speakers, which is not to say the speakers aren't important, because I have thoroughly been challenged by all of them.
Julian of Norwich, the English mystic from the Middle Ages, late Middle Ages, had fallen into illness. And the time when she was in a coma, when she arose from her comatose state, she said that God had visited her in visions. And she said in one of the visions, God had said to her, you can find all the great truths in something like a hazelnut or a chestnut. God made it, God sustains it, God loves it. I remember when I first read that, I was so moved by the statement. Wow, even the chestnut, God made it, God sustains it, God loves it. I've never seen a chestnut since then without seeing the chestnut and hearing the message to me. Jerry, God made you, God sustains you, God loves you.
See, all of us have the rational Greek. Today's generation of young have the existential, it's okay to weep, but we need to move to the belly. The voice of God is here. The voice of people are there. Listen to his voice. It is the groaning and the travailing. It is the birthing place.
He's the line without a hook. He's the final gasp that the drowned man took. She's the rot at the heart of the oak. She's the last word the patient spoke. He's the trap without the cheese. She's the hive deprived of bees. He's a chimera, a heat mirage. They're the gas fumes in their own garage.
Fly me to the moon and let me play amongst the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Sadness creeps around the shadows of a dusk-filled room. He knows the sun will set, the joys of previous hours will fade. He knows that joy and sorrow mingle and overtake each other in strange ways. Hope and little flickers, scarce enough to read by, holds him off. But candles are fragile things, and there are so few matches left. Thanks.
Yes. As a theater artist, you're always thinking about who's the next audience that will inherit the theater and help support it, and who are the next generations of theater artists of faith who are likewise going to come alongside and continue to build this theater. In the same kind of thing, I think, in KindlingsFest, as we saw more kids who were in that kind of early college and post-college era, as well as even some of our speakers who are addressing our relationship to our heirs.
In chapter 14 of Catcher in the Rye, Holden Caulfield climbs into bed and he muses about the Gospels, what he thinks about Jesus and the disciples. And he gives us a really interesting picture because he favors the demoniac over anybody else.
So during the 20th century, we've done something that is almost unique in world history. We are a culture that has almost killed its poetry. Now, if you find yourself being one of those Americans who just isn't much interested in poetry, I challenge you to read the first chapter of C.S. Lewis's A Preface to Paradise Lost. My suspicion is 5 pages into it, you'll be thinking, what's wrong with me? I haven't read a poem all day.
Countless legions of the faithful, crossing every generation, hand to shoulder in an unbroken line. Lead us to this Sabbath morning, we humbly count ourselves among them, to seek and find the face of Jesus in our time.
we arrived and were immediately kind of drawn into this wonderful family of people, a mixture of people from all over the United States and beyond. These local hosts, all of it together just really spoke to our hearts and did what Dick said. He wanted to rekindle our spirits, and it happened. We're going to go home really deeply impacted by this experience.
The fact that he could take snapshots, events that took place throughout the week, and in one evening sit down and compose music that captured these snapshots and was presented in a way that lifted everybody's heart that was there in worship of God was sheer genius.
Yeah.